Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. So this one is Secure Your Data and Identity with Microsoft 365. My name is Andrew Rigg. I'm Head of Solution Architecture for Managed Services here at Perfect Image, and my focus is mainly around public cloud. So specifically Microsoft Azure, AWS, and Microsoft 365. Just a bit of background so you know who's talking at you today. So I joined Perfect Image back in 2018 from Toshiba Australia, where I was working within their managed services division as a solution architect. I hold several AWS and Microsoft certifications, including Microsoft Administrator and Architect Expert, along with the Azure and 365 Security Associate certifications. For AWS, I hold the Solution Architecture Associate and Professional certs, and I'm also working towards their security specialty. So who's Perfect Image? Well, we're a managed service provider located in the northeast of the UK, and we're a cloud-first business. We're consultancy-led with over 80 IT professionals, kind of specialising in business intelligence, public cloud, and hybrid infrastructure. So today we're going to cover, what are the risks and the challenges. A little bit around Microsoft versus Office 365. So the differences between these products and kind of helping choose the right subscription. Controlling your data, right, and preventing data leakage. So we'll go through protecting your identity, the data, and then controlling the access to that sensitive data. We'll talk about the implementing security baselines, and then we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. But I'll be stopping to kind of check as we go throughout. So just type anything into the chat window, and we'll see how we get on. Now I'm just going to do two quick polls before we start, just to kind of get a bit of a feel of where everyone's at, so I can kind of base some of this content around those. So first one is coming up. Now these are completely anonymous, so answer away. Just give it 30 seconds before I close the poll. Okay, just give it a couple of seconds and I'll close this one out. Okay, so what have we got on this one? Good, not good. Okay, yep, cool. So we're like Fort Knox, about a 30, 2/3 keep you up at night, and then a couple of people with the old my dad has got the open door policy. All right, let's quickly go with the next one. Again, I'll give it about 30 seconds, and then we'll kind of crack on with the content today. Okay, give it a couple more seconds. Got most of the votes in by the looks of things. All right, what do we got? A bit of it even, yeah, a bit similar stats to last time. So 30% obviously know where sensitive their data is and who's got it. Okay, so 62%, who has access, just not what's sensitive, okay? And then I've got an exercise. Yeah, so fairly even splits. All right, we'll hide those and let's get going. So just before I kind of talk about what you should be doing or looking to adopt, just to kind of a few of the reasons kind of to why you should. The cloud offerings, they're rapidly developing, and the security landscape is forever changing. Businesses generally don't have the time to assess all the products available to them, and then what happens as those products develop or as they're retired. Typically, the IT kind of resources are already stretched and constrained, so you don't have the time to do this for the tools and products that you already have. So years ago, having a firewall, antivirus, and email filtering was sufficient to protect your business. Typically your office or your building's four walls, that was your perimeter, right? An attacker had to be inside the building to get access to your network. But now with the user's identity and the data moving to cloud, increased mobile access, and cyber criminals getting more and more sophisticated, these times are changing. Users' identity and their data, now in the cloud rather than all being inside that location, on that network that you controlled. But that's good news for users, right? So they've got more options for getting things done, kind of wherever they go. But it also means that there's more points of risk to think about. They're using more mobile devices that they can lose. They're working from home, coffee shops, trains, public networks. Criminals are going after, going after users in more and more, sophisticated ways. Phishing attacks that are getting harder and harder to recognize. Ransomware and social engineering attacks that take advantage of people being busy. So cyber criminals, they've upped the game. So kind of need to, so you need to up your game too. But you don't have time to become that cybersecurity expert, right? And you don't have time to stay the expert, but because how things change and then threats change month to month. Using the right Microsoft 365 features along with a managed service provider to manage, maintain, and kind of stay up to date lets you focus on the business and the user requirements. So the security attacks have real economic consequences to a business. A common statement I hear is, I'm too small for hackers to attack me, or only the large enterprises need to worry about security. Or why would my data be important to hackers? Well, the simple answer is, as long as the data is important to you, then that's what matters to the hackers, right? So the types of activities and these 3 examples on screen are all too common today. Right. So let me tell you a story. So our business hired a new CFO, who posted on LinkedIn about the job. And within a week, that was spearphished from from an email pretending to be from the CEO, asking them to transfer $40,000 to an account. Since the CEO was traveling, they assumed the email was legitimate. They sent the money was gone. So activity like this is all too common, and there's a simple solution that can stop this type of activity where email accounts are compromised, and it's MFA. Passwords are the weakest link in the security chain, and without the additional verification, it's a single point of failure. That's why if you do one thing to help protect yourself in the business, is to enforce multi-factor authentication, MFA. It can prevent 99.9% of those identity attacks. If you're hesitant to turn on MFA, or there's, there are ways to minimize the disruption and make a smooth transition for your users. With the right access policies, you can prompt the users only for MFA when necessary, by using conditional access. I'll cover that shortly. So enough about the challenges and risks. Let's start to talk about the solution. But just first, a quick kind of 2-3 minutes to explain, what Microsoft 365 is and how it's different to Office 365. So there was a name change earlier this year. I want to say it was April, could be wrong. And this is where the business products were rebranded as Microsoft 365. So the plans on screen, they're 3 of the most common plans that have had their name changed, but it also illustrates some of the differences. To this, add the enterprise plans, right? So that's your Office 365 E3 and then your Microsoft 365 E3. Office 365 E3, simply, it's kind of, it's the Office applications and services, much like Business Standard up on screen, but with a few added services and features to have that ability to have over 300 licenses assigned to your tenant. That 300 license cap, that's one of the limitations with the business plans, but it also represents the kind of entry to the enterprise. Microsoft 365 E3, like the kind of business premium one up on screen, it's now a package. So it includes other popular SKUs like the EMS E3. It's all bundled in to simplify and provide those increased security and compliance features. So licensing can be confusing, but I hope this shows it a little clearer to what's bundled into these. So the section in blue, it's those of the Office 365 and the EMS E3 plans. The Microsoft E3 plan, this combines these 2, plus the other bits in red, and then some other items that aren't listed on here. If you're moving into towards WVD, or you're moving towards an all-in Microsoft 365 kind of approach, then these Microsoft kind of E3 plans become very attractive. Microsoft 365 Business Premium, it should be seen as a kind of go-to plan for the SMBs, those ones that have kind of under 300 users, unless you have the particular requirements and you've moved up to those enterprise SKUs. Then you get Microsoft E5, so this is the big brother. It's the top line plan. It typically includes all the services, all the features, any new releases from Microsoft, and it's the one that they want you to buy, and ultimately fully consume. But remember, you can mix and match these products, right? And you only license the users that require those plans and features, and don't pay for those products you don't require. Save your money. Put it elsewhere. Please keep in mind the pricing that you see on screen at the moment. It's commercial pricing. So if you're educational or not-for-profit, then there's substantial discounts available to you. It's also kind of RRP. And also on screen is just a snippet of what's covered within these plans. And like always with the SaaS products, the prices and features are always subject to change. I'm just going to pause for one quick moment as well. I'm just going to check if there's any questions at the moment and just do one more quick poll, and then we're going to crack on again. So again, I'll give this one 30 seconds. We'll be talking about user's identity next. Okay, just while that one's up on screen, there is one question here. You don't have Microsoft Business Standard listed. Any reason for that? Well, I did, but I had to remove it just to get some more real estate on screen. But there's well over 20 different Microsoft and Office 365 plans with about another kind of 80 to 100 add-on plans. I would suggest looking at what Microsoft Business Premium offers over the standard, because this kind of starts to bundle in the security and compliance features, most of which we'll be talking about next anyway within these. It requires Business Premium or above. So I'm just going to close out that poll now. And what do we get? Okay, so user's identity. Similar, again, 25, 69, so nothing to worry about. And then 70% with could do better. Well, we can generally always do better. But okay, let's hide that one and we'll continue. Okay, so how to secure your identity, the user's identity. Let me just get rid of one thing on screen. Okay, so zero trust. So it's a methodology used when protecting your data and resources. This assumes that the user's credentials have already been compromised. So I'll give you an example. This is from user to data. So a user trying to access an application. Knowing who's requesting access is essential. So validate the user's identity explicitly. Don't infer from the environment. Whether the user logs in from a coffee shop or inside the corporate network, verify them in real time before access is granted. But also factor in the components such as device health, device compliance status, and conditional access policies that include MFA, before you grant access to those corporate resources. So our next couple of slides, we'll kind of look at these technologies that can help defend the business and kind of use these components, starting with identity and access management. So MFA offerings, they're not equal, right? So MFA, kind of user-based MFA, this is more of the legacy MFA. It's either on or it's off, unlike conditional access policies. In a distributed work environment, providing the right people the right access, it becomes critical. So with Azure AD and conditional access, you can control the where, when, and who connects to the applications and data. For example, you can create a policy that blocks access when someone attempts to log in from a country that you just simply don't do business in. Or you can use conditional access to restrict access if a user is logging in from an unrecognized or potentially compromised device. Another example, and these ones kind of go into your kind of security baselines, is creating policies that enforce MFA for the privileged accounts. So these are for like your global admins, your Exchange admins, SharePoint admins. There's about 8 or 9 of these kind of privileged accounts that got to take priority. So ensure that they can only access the Microsoft administration portals from your Office network. using a trusted device, but also enforce MFA, and then ensure that they're prompted daily for the MFA prompts. Now that policy just simply wouldn't work for standard users. The whole balance of security versus hassle, and user frustration, it's out of balance. The standard user policy might be something a little bit more simplistic, like, they must use a trusted device, or from a trusted location, if not, prompt for MFA. But once satisfied, don't ask again for 30 days. So these types of policies gives you that kind of control to meet the specific security requirements while not affecting the user's productivity. Lastly, provide the users with the ability to reset their own password. Again, by using the MFA prompt as kind of one of the methods, a phone call, or even custom security questions. Now you can combine these to force the users to have to use 2 tests before they can reset the passwords. It's totally kind of business dependent. So using Microsoft Defender may not be something all businesses have thought about for one reason or another. You may have other products that you're already licensed for and committed to. That said, it's bundled into many of the Microsoft 365 plans. Right, and it can help streamline management and reduce costs within the business. But also, Microsoft Defender is not just about the Windows kind of antivirus anymore. It reaches into the world of Microsoft 365 platform, so your SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, Exchange. So this product is called Microsoft Defender for Office 365. So on screen is how Defender for 365 works for the email protection sides of things, when it analyzes malicious URLs and attachments. So links are checked in real time to warn if the destination is malicious, with the product that they have, which is called Safe Links. Defender Safe Attachments is a feature within as well that scans every inbound and outbound email attachment. The protection also applies to attachments kind of uploaded from to SharePoint, OneDrives, and Teams. Then you get the AI-powered kind of intelligence, so using kind of the likes of Microsoft Azure in the background to help protect against the impersonation and spoofing emails, for anti-phishing. So what about the data, right? So, well, safeguard the business data with data loss prevention and information protection. So Microsoft 365 helps you protect the business data, this sensitive customer or employee information from accidental leaks, utilizing data loss prevention capabilities. DLP policies, they can help identify, monitor, and protect that sensitive information through deep content analysis, right? So even if your staff forget to apply these labels. It includes pre-configured templates that can help detect specific sensitive information, like credit card numbers, NI numbers, or even personally identifiable information within the region that you're working in. It also provides policy tips, which can help educate and prevent users from accidentally sharing that sensitive information by displaying these policy tips within Outlook. Then we kind of move on to the information protection element, right? So this is also known as Azure Information Protection. It's currently being rebranded just to Information Protection. So this gives the options to classify and protect important information and apply the appropriate controls. So sensitivity labels, allows your employees to easily encrypt emails and/or documents and impose the controls such as do not print, do not forward. This helps you communicate securely with your customers or other people outside your company by ensuring that only the intended recipient can read the message. It also prevents sensitive information from being accessed if it has been sent accidentally or forwarded on. So labels can apply to documents, whether they're sitting on a file server, SharePoint, OneDrive, where it happens to reside, the labels can be applied to the documents. You can also revoke access to an employee that has left the company. Now, data loss prevention policies, they're determined by what data you need to protect within your business. Out of the box, there's about 42 pre-configured policies. Now, this is across financial, medical, and privacy. On top of these, you can create your own custom policies to target the data that's shared with inside and outside your organization that's important to you. Choose your action, block or report. Generally, you're going to start with a report, and then you're going to move to block once you kind of bed this in. There are many legitimate reasons, to share this type of content with external contacts, but you should share a link to a document or apply protection so it can only be accessed by the intended recipient. So I'm going to give you an example of information protection. So Megan, right? So she's a sales manager for your company. She creates a company's annual sales forecast and classifies it as highly confidential. It essentially locks the document because the policy has been created, so highly confidential files, they're automatically encrypted and only accessible by company employees. After Megan shares a file with the team, Carlos, salesperson also within the company, he attempts to open the file. When he opens the file, information protection verifies that he's a company employee, decrypts the file for him, and verification can occur each time the file is accessed, or it can be kind of held for up to 30 days in offline mode. Again, it's all configurable. So the protection stays with the document, right? So even if the document's saved outside of the company servers, or outside of SharePoint, let's say Carlos saves it onto a USB thumb drive, then he gets a job for another company. Even though Carlos still has the sales forecast document, it's useless to him because when he tries to open the file, he's unable to decrypt it. So just going to pause there for a moment and again, just quickly check if there's any questions. Just the one so far. So how does it work when it's forwarded to external users? Right. So if the file was encrypted with permissions only for the domain users to access, or the intended recipient, when the user opens the file, information protection effectively validates the user who's signed into Office. If it's not a domain member, then it will ask for your credentials, so your username, password. In this case, if the business has followed their levers process and blocked the sign-ins or disabled the account, then access won't be granted to the document because it's now an invalid account. Check if there's any others. Nope. Okay, I'll move on. Right, so we'll kind of move on to mobile device management. So there's a couple of ways to approach mobile device management. So you've got mobile application management, MAM. So this is typically for personally owned devices. So the company's got control over the application used for the business, but not the device. So example here is you can apply an application protection policy to help ensure that the corporate data is only saved on OneDrive for business versus personal OneDrive account or local to the device. Then you kind of get to the mobile device management, MDM. So that's typically used for company-owned devices. So the users will enroll their device. The company has the ability to configure the device policies, so such as enforcing complex PINs or passwords, can enforce remote wipes or lock the device, enforce encryption. MAM, so that's your mobile application management. It's more common in your SMB kind of scenario due to the BYOD environments. Now, if you don't think you've got a BYOD kind of environment or use case, unless you've restricted this by policy, your users will be able to access your company data via the personal devices. So I'll just look at depth in that one, just in another quick example here. So with the kind of remote and hybrid working, employees are increasingly using those personal devices to access work data. With Endpoint Manager, so that's formerly Intune, another rebrand, you'd create a policy which allows you to protect the data at application level. So with MAM, you've got a virtual firewall between the personal data and the corporate data, while not impacting the user experience. Employees are able to use the apps like Word, Outlook, Excel, while the IT team is able to protect the data contained within those apps and devices. So the diagram on the right-hand side of the screen, I'll just talk you through that one a little bit. So if the user receives an email via Outlook and it's got an Excel attachment, when the user opens the attachment and views it in Excel, they can view the information. Now, when they try to copy that information and paste it into a local application, so it might be a notes application, only a block of text stating the company policy restricts this behavior is pasted. This is because we've applied a policy to restrict copy and paste and cut functions to only applications that are within the managed app ecosystem. If the same user opens Microsoft Word, they can successfully paste the information. Now, the same behavior occurs if they try to save the document to their personal OneDrive or local to the device. Again, it's because personal OneDrive isn't part of the managed applications, so they can't save it there. But the user can save it to OneDrive for Business, which means that the data it's saved within the Business 365 environment. It hasn't leaked out onto an unmanaged device. So there are some baselines that you should be implementing within the business within these areas. So secure your users' cloud identities. Enforce MFA. Ideally conditional-based access policies, and work towards that zero trust model. Email security. Continue training and reinforce with simulated phishing attacks on users. Avoid making training feel like a penalty. Then you get to document security. So protect the data from leaking with data loss prevention tools. Device security, link the device compliance policies with conditional access. So does the device have encryption? Does it have antivirus? Yes, it meets that policy, therefore you're allowed access. No, mark the devices as non-compliant, raise an alert, get it investigated. But then data security. So understand your data, right? So know what's sensitive, know where it is, and know where it's located. Otherwise, how can you protect it? So perfect image, so we've got a FlexCare 365 support offering, right? That basically enforces these by design. So just to recap, really. So when using Microsoft 365 security compliance tools, it brings together a multi-layered security with productivity and the collaboration tools to run the business from anywhere with peace of mind. There's protection across the identity, across the device, the applications, and the data. So starting with the user, we talked about protecting the user's identity, and access against lost or stolen passwords by enforcing multi-factor authentication, as well as controlling who can access your business data with conditional access. The protection continues on the device level. So whether the company employee owns the device by using Intune policies, including the ability to remotely wipe a lost or stolen device, and protect the work data on those personal devices with app protection policies. Just into that, the apps as well that are used to access the work data can be managed by using those app protection policies to block the work documents being saved onto those personal personal devices or personal storage accounts. Additionally, Defender for Office 365, the capabilities help defend against those phishing attacks and other cyber threats by checking the links and the attachments in real time. Then you get to with data loss prevention and information protection, and the two of those can work hand in hand as well. They aren't separate. You can link the two policies. So this is where you can classify and protect the sensitive information and restrict the forward or copying of those sensitive emails and documents. So you can have threat protection and information protection as an advanced SKU. It's like an add-on SKU, but it is also added into the E5 plans. So these advanced plans, so you advanced 365 security and E5, they really provide you with the automation, right? So users no longer have to label emails and classify documents. By using AI, Microsoft now does the heavy lifting for you. So you train the system, and from that point forward, Big Brother will decide effectively what's sensitive, apply those classifications, and then what should be encrypted. That was a whistle-stop tour, but I hope today's webinar has given some insight into the world of Microsoft 365 security. Now, I know we finished by about 45 minutes early, but sorry, not 45 minutes, 15 minutes early. I do have one more quick poll to go before I jump into some more questions. I'll see if there's any there. So I'm just going to launch the last poll now. Again, I'll give it 30 seconds while I check some questions. Okay, there's a couple of questions popped in. I'll just wait for this poll to close out first. Okay, 2 more seconds. Right, what do we got? Close. 56 versus 44. Do you understand your data? No, where all your sensitive data is and who has access to it. Well, if you want to know more, that's absolutely where you can have a chat to us as well. Now, I'll close this window out and I'll check for some of these questions. Keep firing questions away as well. I'll hang around a few more minutes anyway, but I'll read out what I've got. Okay, what license do you need for conditional access policies? So for that one there, you require Azure ADP one. So that one comes with most of the 365 plans. You know, it doesn't come with your Microsoft Business Standard plan, but everything there and above it does. But you can get it as an add-on as well. You haven't mentioned privileged identity management. Okay, yep, true, I haven't. I didn't think I could fit everything into this session, knowing that I finished 15 minutes early. Next time I could. But effectively, privileged identity management, or PIMs for short. So it's part of Azure AD Premium 2, or it's part of those kind of E5 bundles. Now this starts to go into the world of Azure and kind of RBAC as well. So role-based control, role-based access control. It's a fantastic product, and it's just one of the features of P2 within Azure AD P2. You're also getting risky analysis as well. And this one, but PIMs is really around limiting access to those privileged accounts. So this does definitely form part of the best practice by users not having the accounts, those privileged accounts they're using day to day, you know, such as security administrator or global admins. You don't want those roles all day, every day on those accounts, because if they get compromised, then you're in a real bad state. So, but what the user does is the user effectively requests access to elevate their role and specifies the reasons and how long they require the access for this. So then you've got the full audit trail behind that as well. Now these can be pre-assigned. So for the likes of, if I request for global admin, I can be pre-assigned to say, yes, I'm allowed that. So therefore I'm automatically approved, but I still have to put in my justification, maybe a ticket number. But it also can be driven by workflows as well. So somebody can request and it can go off to be basically authorized before those rights are given. All right. I will just check for any more questions. Make sure I'm checking the right place. There is another window here. Yep, got a couple more here. Sorry, I was looking in the chat window earlier as well. So can you use Defender alongside other security tools like Sophos Intercept X? Yes, absolutely. So Windows Defender as well can work side to side. You can just have it there as well if you want the visibility element of things. It's because when it's giving the visibility, what it's also doing is it's giving you the access to show you what's on those devices, as in what applications are on there within the portal. Then as well, within the Defender element, Microsoft then gives you the risk score essentially for those applications as well. Are they high risk? Are they low risk? But yeah, you can absolutely have both side by side. So does the same copy and paste within BUID between signed apps as does the same copy and paste within BUID between signed apps, e.g. between Word, Excel, and personal Excel accounts? No, so not those personal. So if you've got on your device, you've got work, the applications are managed upon a work level. So if you if you're using Excel on the device as a local user, then therefore you can actually store those documents with within the actual within your personal device, right? So if they are business emails that have come through from accounts, then it is attached to your user account. You may be prompted to sign in more frequently though. So what we'll do with that one though is we will actually reach out and just get a bit more detail on that one so I can kind of give you a clear answer. I know I've kind of muddled that one a bit. And then another one here, do we provide support for secondary education environments? Absolutely. Again, we'll reach out to you on that one and we'll get in touch separately. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to put myself on mute. I'll wait here for another 2 minutes. But other than that, thank you very much for your time.